Basically, if you search for a term in your concordance, for example, VLE, if you type that in, your results will be displayed as a list of sentences, and these sentences are extracts from all of this language, and it's kind of aligned for you down the screen, and you can see how that word that you're searching for, VLE, how it's used. What sort of context, what sort of language surrounds it, and so on. It sounds a bit weird, and the best thing to do is to go along to somewhere like the British National Corpus and try it out. Most of the ones that we recommend in our book certainly are free, and we have a couple of activities suggesting how you could use this with students.
Yeah, did you want to know the names of some of the concordance sites there, Nicky?
Yes, please. Which do we recommend in the book?
Yep. Yes. The British National Corpus is one. Complete Lexical Tutor is another one. That's lextutor.ca, a Canadian site. Lextutor.ca, lextutor.ca. And the COBILD Concordance and Collocations Sampler. Probably best if you just do a Google search on that. COBILD Concordance and Collocations Sampler. These are all ones, by the way, that I have used in materials writing as well.
Great. Okay, let's move on then from the software to the next slide, please, Tanya. Okay, so we've looked then at the hardware, we've just looked briefly at the software, and now we're looking again at the liveware, which, like Lindsay explained earlier, as he said, this is the people, the kind of person element. It's also actually referred to as waitware, which is not one of my favorite terms, so we decided to call it liveware in the book. So you can see there on the screen the sort of fundamental things that we do as online teachers or online tutors. We need to meet and greet students always. Clearly, when you're doing a synchronous session like this one, that's obvious. But also when you're setting up a course or the first time the group is interacting online, they need to be meeting and greeting or socializing type activities. Now, I think this is important even if you're doing online work with a face-to-face group. Even if you're meeting in the classroom every Monday and they're doing some online work on Wednesdays, it's still important to build in socializing activities for the online part of your course. Of course, the group do already know each other face-to-face, but if you're going to be getting people to do pair and group work online, they need to have established those online links and done the online socializing for that to work. Don't assume that just because face-to-face they know each other, it's suddenly going to work online, putting people into pairs. The next one down there, the green text, establishing objectives. So it needs to be very clear what you're doing with the students online and why. What are they going to be getting out of activities? Maybe a linguistic aim, depending on your course. And then celebrating achievements. So when your students actually create something or do something or work on a project together and there's some kind of artifact or object produced, celebrate that achievement publicly, not just an email to the students saying, well done for doing your first blog entry. No, make sure it becomes a kind of public event. And then obviously being polite, so having communication, norms for communication online. So I don't think it's normally a problem to have students being impolite to each other. It's not a public forum, but you do need to point out to people that interaction online or communication online is not the same as speaking. Of course, there's no gesture, you can't see facial expressions. So things like humor can work fine online, but things like sarcasm usually don't translate well. So, a few norms for communication, like, respect each other and support each other and, respond to other people's postings and so on is a good idea. Okay, so oh, sorry, Lindsay, did you want to add something?
Yeah, I was just going to add another one, and being polite. Often we go over at the beginning of a course a series of jointly created netiquette rules. That's something that you can do with the learners. Setting up a forum to discuss what would be appropriate rules of behavior online. And usually participants that I've worked with come up with some of the things that Nicky said. Also maybe going easy on the amount of acronyms being used, because not everyone shares the same language when it comes to, do you know what LOL and BRB and AWK and so on all mean? So sort of being sparing in those. But this is something that can be created jointly with participants on the course and the tutor together. Sorry, back to you, Nicky.
Okay, no, in fact, the next slide, which Tanya will bring up now, is over to you again. I think there's a poll connected to this one.
All right, actually, there is a poll connected to this one. I wanted to talk about a little bit about the key ingredients, which are interaction and communication. But before we do that, we were interested in what kind of experience you have had, the audience, in teaching online. And we've got a second poll that we'd like you to take a moment and take here, just so we can get a kind of pulse of the audience. You know, how many of you have done online learning, online teaching, or so on. Okay, Tanya, can we have that next poll up?
I wonder if Tanya's gone off for a coffee.
All right, okay, yes, I'm wondering about that as well. Tanya, are you still there?
Yes, I am. I'm sorry I didn't go off for a coffee. I was worried about background information. No, hang on a second.
The second poll.
The second poll is not seeming to come up. Okay, hang on. Here we go.
Right, so you know what to do here. You did it last time, so just click on the one.
Okay. We've got about 80% of the people who have voted, so we'll just give a couple more seconds.
If you've clicked on number 4, well, hopefully you are learning something here. And if you're in the wrong place, the new Pirates of the Caribbean trailer is now on YouTube.
Wow. Okay. All right, we've got, I think there's like just one person who hasn't voted. Give him 2 seconds. All right, I'm going to close the poll.
He's probably definitely gone for a coffee.
Yeah, I'm going to close the poll now.
Okay.
Okay, and everybody should see the results now.
All right, this is interesting because this is pretty much like what happens every time I've given a talk like this. Although actually the 40% I'm quite impressed with, so that's great. There's already 40% of you already teaching online. But usually I'm getting more and more now. I will or may teach online in the future. Okay, that's great. Let's come back then to the slides, Tanya.
Okay. Are we back?
Nope, not yet.
Are we back now?
Yeah.
Now we're back.
Okay.
Right, and so coming back to what we found are the key ingredients. Remember earlier I talked about the high rate of attrition on online courses. This is because, this may be changing a bit now, but part of it is because that when courses began to go online, they still followed the old model of distance courses. That was the model that was used by the Open University in the past and other distance courses where the tutor would send, or the institution would send tasks in the mail to somebody, to a student, who would then complete those tasks and send them back, and they would maybe get feedback on it from the tutor. It was a series of one-way communication. If you were doing one of these distance courses, you didn't really know how many other people were doing it. You could feel quite isolated. And some of this has transposed over into the world of online courses. It becomes a series of tasks that are sent to the student, often maybe interactive and maybe quite visually attractive, but still the student doesn't know really who else is doing the course at the same time, if anyone. The contact with the tutor may not be that much. It may be minimal, just a few emails and so on, especially if a lot of it has been set up so that it's sort of all self-study.